Welcome to the best lighting that we currently have in our apartment that is not filled with boxes. I am wedged in the 1 foot space between my bed and the window. Lighting! So this is Rosica from the future here, and she is gonna film an introduction to this video, which she diabolically did not do plan or script. So why are we here? Is now a good time to mention that I'm a couple of mimosas deep. I got to go hang out with some lovely, super pleasant people and their wonderful children, and I had more mimosas than were planned. So happy with my current level of just happily buzzed. On topic, I decided to read 7 Days in June in 7 days in June. Why? Because that pleases me to do so. So the general plan is I'm going to start this book, which is a romance. It got some buzz on the booktubes in the last 2 years. As far as I know, it's a second chance romance about two writers who fell in love in their teens and then get another shot at love when they're whole ass adults. I know from the back of the book that because they're both writers, they've been writing to each other and about each other throughout the years. And it just sounds like a good romance, and a lot of booktubers who I follow who don't like romance have liked this book, and I am in the mood for a good romance. I'm often a big fan of the cheese and the smut, but I just kind of want a good romance, so I figured let's try it. And I'm always like jazzed to find books that are in the romance section that are non-white authors. This is written by a lovely African-American author, and I just want to try her book. I'm gonna try to read this over 7 days, as I said, so I'm gonna try not to finish too soon or too late, which is probably gonna be the hardest part of this challenge. So here goes. Here's 7 days in June, over 7 days in June. Back to me from the past. It's day one. I'm on my way to work. I'm late, but I'm turning on the audiobook, so we're gonna hopefully get through about an hour of the book today on my commute time. Let's go! It is 8:30. It is 2 hours past my shift. Yes, overtime, but boo, overtime. I listened to the book on my commute both ways. Got about an hour and change in. Really liking it so far. Very easy to read, good voice. And I like that the protagonist has both chronic pain, is not white, and is not a 20-something. Single mom in like her 40s, I think. Really enjoying it so far. Good morning. It's day 2. Oh, I was gonna get up early this morning and give you a real update, but I'm tired. And as you can see from the bags under my eyes, we can do that. We got up marginally on time, too slightly late. I have time to make coffee, and I'm gonna eat in the car. I'll be fine. I did stay up last night, not late. I stayed up to my usual bedtime of 10:30, riveting. And I read a little bit more. I think I read to chapter 7 or chapter 8. The writing itself is wonderful. It follows Eva, who's a wizard and vampire erotica series writer in her 40s who suffers from debilitating chronic pain from migraines. So like an invisible pain. As someone who gets migraines myself, and not to that extreme, it's wonderfully well written. She's a single mom, divorced in New York City, with a tween daughter. It follows her coming back into contact with Troy, who was, I think, we haven't gotten that far yet, I think a guy she fell in love with when she was in high school for a week, and then hasn't seen him in like 20 years, 30 years. It's hard to find romance that's written like whip smart contemporary fiction, and this definitely is. Like, I know it's going to be romance because that's what it's classed as, but this far in the book I would say this is a contemporary fiction. It's just fun and funny and crackling humor. It's really enjoying itself as a book. I haven't read a book in a while that's like from a contemporary Black author. It's so good, and I need to just read more non-white authors because I think the story is so all its own, and I haven't read something like it in a while. And yeah, really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. I need coffee. Okay. Bye. I survived. I made it out of work. Woohoo! But the best part of today, other than the fact that it's Friday, it is a truth universally acknowledged that in any healthcare setting, there's a Filipina auntie. Okay, she's incredible at her job. She's been there forever. No one knows how old she is. But if you're nice to Filipina auntie, she might make you lumpia. If you don't know what these are like Filipino egg rolls, and they're the best things ever. These will be dinner later this week. I'm done with my work week. I listened a little more on my commute to work today, and I'm thinking I might read a little on my Kindle. I'm still really loving the book. I'm really enjoying the fact that both love interests are writers, so they're very writery and prosy in how they speak. It's just really fun. We're getting more flashbacks to how they met in their, youth days and the kind of wild, troubled kids that they were then versus the more put together adults that they are now. It's really good. Like, it's so well written. I still think it reads more like literary fiction. It's romance that should be treated in the same, breadth of enthusiasm and award-winningness as contemporary fiction, because that's how good it is. So, gonna read more tonight. Pack a little tonight. Maybe watch a little Bluey. We'll see. Hi, it's me from the future again. So it's Sunday. I'm still drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm just I feel good. To give a summary of yesterday, because I didn't really chat about it too much, I ran a 5K in the morning with the hubby, which was really fun. And then there was my local library was having a book sale, so I decided to go to that. I'll give you a little mini book haul because we're here, so why not? I spent $15, most of which is for books for my daughter because I wanted to have some kind of new books for the move to give her something new and fun to look at. There were like 0 board books, which does not surprise because board books, I think as a whole, are meant to be ingested and pooped out. My lovely book obsessed daughter has eaten most of her board books. She's hungry caterpillared her way through most of the edges, corners, and spines of those books. She's one with the books. I found 2 little colorful board books, Come to the Circus, Caterpillar Who Turned into a Butterfly. This one very much feels like a ripoff of the Very Hungry Caterpillar, but they are chunky little board books. They're untoothed. They will be eaten soon. I got some classics. I found this Mother Goose anthology. This is definitely a bit too old for my daughter still, but I thought the illustrations were nice and I thought it would be a good book to have for later. Also in the would be good for later, Frog and Toad together. I'm so excited. I I grew up with Frog and Toad. My husband did not. I think they're great books, so I am jazzed to have this. I found Madeline, which I loved as a kid, and The Cat in the Hat. Some Curious George books, Curious George at the airport and Curious George goes to the zoo. There were not that many kids books. It was genuinely a treasure hunt to try to find anything, and I was pretty jazzed with what I found. Books for me. I found 2 books on my permanent collection list. So these are books that I just want in my library because I love them, because my dream is to have a small but only like 5-star reads library. The childhood favorite Matilda by Roald Dahl, and a recent favorite cozy mystery, Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Kusutanto. Also on Unexpected Finds is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. This book I was so excited to find. So excited because of an unexpected collaborative book project, which is coming up and you will hear more about later. But this is on the list and I needed to find it because it was not at any of my libraries and I was gonna have to buy it, and I found it and it cost me $2. So jazzed. I gave away a Miss Marple mystery and then I immediately bought 2 more, but look at how pretty the covers are. And they're very small, so I figured these would be good for traveling. The Body in the Library, a Caribbean mystery. Both of these sounded like really great summer reads. They were $2 each. I love the covers, which is the other problem with Agatha Christie books, is often I just hate the covers. So I'm excited for both of these. Then I found, of course, a trashy romance. This is When Grumpy Met Sunshine, and as far as I can tell, it's about like a cranky soccer player who's like bullied into selling a memoir, and then he has to find this incredibly cute, cheerful ghostwriter for his book. And the male lead, if you can't tell, very much looks like he's been based on the grumpy soccer player from Ted Lasso. And if that's not why you watch Ted Lasso, you're doing it wrong. Lastly, I got a hardcover book for free. I spun the wheel when I went in, which was great because hardcovers were like $4, and that is Fredrik Backman's Anxious People. I read Beartown this last year and I really loved his writing style. It's about a bunch of people who are held hostage by a would-be bank robber who then disappears, and all their many anxieties. And I think it's going to do what I already love about Fredrik Backman, which is a wildly huge cast of characters who are all written extremely well, who I will care way too much about by the end of the book. And if you haven't seen Fredrik Backman's speech at one of the big publishing get-togethers, I will link it below. It is by far one of the most funny, every line killed speeches I've ever seen. I will link it below. He was hilarious. Very funny author, very great books. And that's what I got from my book haul. That was $15 worth of books, which I think is pretty good. I spent $5 less than I was planning on spending. So yes, it's Sunday. I've been mimosa'd. The baby is sleeping. I'm about halfway through 7 days in June, which I think works good because I started this on a Thursday. So I think being halfway through on Sunday is pretty good, considering I typically read an hour and a half a day. I usually read about an hour of the audiobook and then maybe a half an hour before I go to sleep. So I think I can finish it bang on time. Really enjoying it. We've gotten to the part in the story. I don't think this is a spoiler. It's a romance. Obviously they get together. Where at this point, some of the, issues of their youth have been resolved, or the things that kept them apart when they were younger have kind of like come to light and been sort of removed as a barrier, and now they're just happily loving on each other. It has so much to say about chronic pain and invisible illness. It has so many like cool, wonderful things about imperfect motherhood and trying to break those cycles when you're raising your own kids. I'm going to defend a bit my point from a few days ago, which is I don't want anyone to be like, oh, romance can't be amazing. My point is with this is that often I feel like romance is undervalued as a genre for how good it can be, both for writing and lyrical prose and storytelling. And I think this is such a good example of a romance that's so fantastic. It is highfalutin literature, like it really is. The author has a lot to say on many different settings, and I just can't undersell how much I'm enjoying it, how much I am enjoying the characters, and I can't wait to finish the book. Couple more days. Also, I have to go pack now, so I'm gonna throw this on my audiobook. Back to packing. I wish I had another mimosa. off to work again, as per usual. I have a short week this week. I have some vacation days, so I can get more packing done. I have one chapter left of 7 Days in June, and I think I'm only on day like 4 or 5. So we're gonna ration that a little bit. I listened to it some more last night. My little girl decided to wake up after a very long nap with a raging fever and feeling very unwell, so I had to cancel some dinner plans and hang out with her instead. But she did eventually go to sleep, so I did a lot of packing, which was good. All that to say, I think right now I'm gonna listen to a bookish podcast and probably finish my book tomorrow. I really wanted to do 7 Days in June, but I don't think I can wait to finish the book. So we'll probably just finish it today or tomorrow. But for now, podcasts. Yay! We made it. It is Wednesday. It is 7 Days in June, and I finished 7 Days in June last night. I wound up putting it off until last night just because I had a lot of stuff going on. Baby girl is still sick. It looks like she's starting to like perk up and feel a bit better, and we took her to the pediatrician today, who also thought she was looking better and should hopefully be feeling okay. Other than that, my life has just been like a sort of packing hell. In fact, I am going to be packing baby girl's room right now, which is why she's sleeping in our bedroom. So as soon as I finish filming my few minutes here, I will go back to packing. But yeah, I finished it last night. I read it on my Kindle. Really loved it. I can definitely see why this is a romance that non-romance readers might be drawn to, because while it does have the trappings of a traditional romance, it's written in a way that feels more like contemporary fiction. And while the romance is the main driver of the plot and the main story, it also marinates on themes of motherhood and complicated family dynamics and who we become if we can survive our tortured adolescent years. I was reading through the author notes in the back, and Tia Williams had said something about rewatching Romeo plus Juliet, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, and had been thinking about what Romeo and Juliet would be like had they simply not died and grown up and had to turn into less self-destructive people. That was part of her inspiration for this book. And it's funny because I would never have guessed that this is like a Romeo Juliet inspiration. It's so much its own thing. It has so much heart, and I loved everything about this. It's a solid 5-star romance. If you're normally not into romance, but you like more contemporary fiction, I think this one might appeal to you because it definitely has more serious themes and topics. The plot isn't quite as formulaic and predictable as most modern romances are. There's definitely steam and smut, but it's not that crazy. And all the love scenes really do kind of drive the plot and the characters forward and gives a little more insight into who they are as adults. So it's just so good. I would highly recommend reading 7 Days in June, particularly if you're looking for a romance that's a little bit different than a lot of the straight white romances that are on the shelf. I do think that is often a problem with book marketing, is the romances that are more highly marketed are often more homogenized, and the stories that are a bit different or slightly out of the mainstream just don't get talked about as much. So if I can hype you up to read the book, read the book because it's great. I figured I'd give you a couple of quotes so you can kind of get an idea of the humor and the writing style. "I mean, do I have to?" said Shane with an amused chuckle in his voice. He grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C., and the inflections still lived in his vaguely southern-sounding slow accent. The "I mean" took him 10 years to get out. "You a writer?" or just an AP English hoe. When it's real, declared Shane, you won't even have to ask the question. It just hits you. Kind of like being shot. Shot, repeated Ty, sounding doubtful. So much for gently, thought Shane. Hear me out, said Shane. It's like you know something dramatic happened, but you don't know your insides have been ripped open until after the fact. That's what falling in love is like. When it's real, you don't fall in love with any awareness. You don't get a say. You get hit fucking hard and then process it later, you know? More silence. I ain't trying to get shot, fam. Ty, it was a metaphor. It's funny, it's witty, it just pops. The characters just zing off the page. If you're looking for an off the beaten path romance with so much heart and zing and fun, I can't talk about how much I love this book. I really do think this will probably be in my top 10 best books of the year. I enjoyed it the whole way through. I always wanted to pick it up. It was hard to not always be reading it. And I think that's the best review I can probably give. All right, I gotta get packing while baby girl is napping. More videos are on their way, especially once I can survive the busyness of moving. But as always, thank you for liking and subscribing and watching my channel. I hope you all are having a lovely June, and I will see you all next video. Bye.